So our group is presenting on sustainability and logistics. So just to go over our table of context, we're first going to talk about just an overview of sustainability and logistics, talk a little bit about sustainability, the history, greenwashing, a little bit about COVID-19 and before and after impacts, some examples and some case studies from some companies, and then some key takeaways. So first, sustainability and logistics really makes an attempt to lower the ecological footprint of its tasks. So whether that's with CO2 emissions, noise pollution, or accidents and spills and things like that. 3 ways to really improve sustainability in the supply chain is first, reduce emissions, second, reducing waste, and third, reduce energy consumption. So first, reducing emissions. This is the best way to address climate change because it really affects the greenhouse gases. It's really difficult to undo the damage that has already been done, but by preventing further emissions, we may be able to really take a step back from the severity of the damages that has been caused in the past. So substituting our most carbon-intensive energy sources, such as coal and natural gas, with cleaner sources, such as like hydropower and geothermal and wind power are really good ways to start with the reduction of emissions. The next way, reducing waste. Many companies have really examined the designs of their products to really identify where the use of raw materials can be reduced or expensive materials can be replaced. Many businesses review each component, really identify where it could be manufactured or purchased for less money. When designing products, packaging options, companies can really consider cheaper and less wasteful materials, as well as minimizing the waste of raw materials. The reuse of waste can really be expanded. Improvements in technology of reclaiming waste materials, such as recycling and the use of scrap material to create new products. And then finally, just the reduction of energy consumption. So quality control is really built into the manufacturing process, but it's usually focused on the finished product rather than on minimizing the waste and energy consumption. Motorism is really important in the distribution and supply centers and can really eat up significant energy costs. Reducing motor speeds by just 20%, with installation of variable speed drives and electric cars and different things like that, can really make a difference and really cut costs by about 50%. So high efficiency motors may also even really quantify for tax relief, which is a good thing for any company trying to save some money, as well as improving the environment. Also, the compact fluorescent and LED lights, you can see those picture, produce 80% less energy than your conventional lamps, and ultimately they're just brighter and more efficient and gonna save you a lot of money.
Hi, my name's Steven Horan, and I'm going to talk to you about sustainability before and after COVID. To start, companies were praised that they had any type of sustainability plan in place, no matter how small it was. Consumers would come back to them again and again to buy from them, even if they didn't really have much in place, and it really wasn't helping the economy or the world and making it a better place, environmentally. Before COVID, sustainability tactics were pushed by a younger generation, mostly millennials and Gen Zs, as we're going to talk about in a minute. They were never really given the recognition for starting this whole movement, but we will see after COVID that the movement has become more and more prevalent, and more people of all different age groups are becoming more a part of it. Before COVID, we also started promoting a circular economy. This is basically a recycling mentality. It's making the most out of the smallest amount of raw materials. Pretty much recycling is at the forefront of it. It's a very important idealistic, and I think it's something we were doing really good before COVID hit. and we're going to see afterwards, it's going to become extremely, extremely important for sustainability in the future. We saw the true beginning of social action and education. One of the prime examples I thought, this is Greta Thunberg. She was a massive activist. I'm sure we've all seen a video of her, pictures of her talking about climate change and education on the environment and how we're really hurting it and how companies need to do better. And finally, industries started to create visibility for them and their investors before COVID hit, better than they used to be. They now are compiling their data, their spending reports, and showing what they're doing and what their plans are for the future. So now I'm going to talk about after COVID. We see a more aggressive demand in green initiatives from companies. We obviously saw that companies weren't ready for COVID, and their lack of sustainability methods were not. They just weren't there. So when COVID did hit, we saw, as you see in the picture on the right, China's emissions cut down significantly. We saw that basically once they stopped working and doing stuff there, the emissions were cut in half, if not, they were non-existent. This just showed that the sustainability plans that were in place weren't good enough, and now restructuring needs to happen. Sustainability plans and reports from companies are going to be restructured. We'll see here soon, and because COVID did cause a massive cut in emissions, and now we're going to see that companies need to get back to making their company sustainable. We're also going to see new investing in technology in many industries, like we'll talk about later. New electric trucks were being made, more investing in green energy, and trying to eliminate spending on fossil fuels. And finally, spending habits have drastically changed. Many customers are not going to want to shop at companies who aren't adapting to these sustainability plans. So next, we're going to talk about the history of sustainability, and I'm going to give it off to Erica.
History of sustainability started back in the 1960s with Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, which was about the harmful effects of pesticides on humans, animals, and the environment. Now, this led to an uproar for businesses to take more actions in terms of sustainability. This also led to environmental organizations being founded for the first time. So this began more of the movement towards sustainability. And in the 80s and the 90s, major world events like Chernobyl explosion and the Exxon oil spill led to more outcry. Nike also had issues with their supply chain because they had issues in regards to human rights in China. In 2000, the UN created the Global Compact, which was the first major organization to push for corporate responsibility. The U.S. started the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, which we'll get more into in the next slide. Sustainability history has not been super long, and currently the country and the rest of the world are working to cut down emissions and other issues as quickly as we can. Now, as we get into the 2020 sustainability laws, the big issue with this is that November can really change a lot. Trump has been lenient on environmental issues, but his opponent, Joe Biden, has a new bill called the New Green Deal, which he's looking to pass. In this new deal, Biden would like to fund electronic technologies to try and get rid of emissions by 2050. He also wants really the U.S. to be one of the leaders in electric technology and hopes that this will rally the rest of the world. He believes that the environment and the economy go hand in hand, and that if we get enough done, we can really improve the economy and build out in different industries. So then the EPA implemented the greenhouse gas, which is split into two phases. So phase one started back in 2012, and pretty much the goal was to cut emissions. Phase two is 2017 to 2025. The major goals of the greenhouse gas is to cut emissions by 40% by 2030 and then 85% by 2050. So now obviously Joe Biden wants to change this and he wants to get to net zero by 2050. So it's a little more forward and he wants these numbers to come as quickly as they can. So November will end up telling a lot, mainly because Trump can stay with the way he's going and not really believe in science, or Biden can use this new Green Deal and really try and cut down on emissions. So we'll see what ends up happening.
One of the issues surrounding sustainability and logistics are companies that greenwash. Greenwashing is when companies spend more time and money claiming to be green by using marketing and advertising than actually implementing business practices that will minimize environmental impact. Volkswagen was involved with a greenwashing scandal in which they cheated emissions tests by using a software that would alter the car's performance to reduce emissions levels. The engines were actually emitting up to 40 times the allowed limit for nitrogen oxide pollutants. Other greenwashing examples include fast fashion brands such as H&M and Zara. Some signs to help consumers evaluate sustainability claims include false labeling, vagueness, no proof, and hidden trade-offs. As customers, we can pressure companies to create truly sustainable solutions by changing our own behaviors and habits to environmentally friendly options. One of the first impacts that sustainability has is its contribution to economic development. Incentives can be provided for businesses and organizations to participate in sustainable practices more than just the legislative requirements. People can still get what they want without compromising their quality of life when the financial burden of doing the right thing isn't an issue. The social development of sustainability includes spreading awareness about pollution and other harmful activities to people's health. People can be encouraged to educate themselves on environmental sustainability and ways to make small changes to support the bigger cause. Lastly, sustainability has a positive effect on environmental change, which includes recycling, reducing power consumption, and trying to carpool. The first negative effect of sustainability is the initial cost companies incur to go green. An example would be the cost for a company to install solar panels in order to save energy. Product prices will usually increase if a company decides to start using green materials in their production processes. The business would have to decide between having the customer pay a higher price of making a smaller profit as a result of the higher expense. Companies that choose to go paperless could be susceptible to data risks. Paper records serve as a valuable backup if a system crashes. Lastly, companies that greenwash will have their credibility questioned when consumers become aware of their false claims.
I am going to talk about a few examples of sustainability in logistics. Since sustainable logistics attempts to lower its carbon footprint, Schneider National, which is a premier provider of trucking, intermodal, and logistics service, and is the second-largest U.S. truckload carrier with over 10,000 trucks, provide a good example to show how the company is to maintain sustainability in logistics. Schneider starting to test and electric trucks for Daimler trucks in North America. This move is in order to learn the new technology and to assist in the industrial large-scale development of electric trucks. This new electric truck's most important advantage is it is an environmental-friendly vehicle that can greatly reduce a fleet's of carbon footprint by offering zero tailpipe emissions while boosting a driving range of up to 250 miles. Overall, the electric trucks will be cheaper due to the fact that electricity is renewable and cheaper than consistently buying fossil fuel. So green business is a good business. It is the slogan of Schneider Sustainable Program. And company wants to do business with companies that support green initiatives, which can bring in more business as well as a long-term solution in carbon dioxide neutral transportation approach. The second example I am going to talk about is the electric ships. Ships transport about 80% of the world's commodities, and transportation across the ocean will continue to rise in the future. Researchers have found out that one single ship can have up to 70,000 cars worth of emissions, which is not environmentally sustainable when shipping continues to grow. This is obviously an issue and why companies have started to look towards electric ships to help reduce these emissions. However, there are still issues with how the batteries are used in an electric ship. The current batteries do not store enough electricity to allow ships to get around the world, so there are still issues with how the batteries store electricity. Lastly, in the next few years, Look out for test runs and studies about electric batteries and other types of reusable energies that would allow ships to cut down on their emissions and maintain sustainability in logistics.